All right, everybody, we are back from a quick little break. And so, through the break, you are seeing all the new programs, workshops, and experiences we will be hosting this next journey with the Niche Nation. So, if something's catching your eye, we will be letting you know more about all the details later on today. So, stay tuned through the breaks to understand what is coming to you this 2025 journey of the next year. All right. Well, let us not hesitate any longer. I am very honored to welcome to this sacred space a very dear soul to mine. Um, Rosemary has been a soul journeying through the Niche Nation, and I feel she brings such a testimony of what it is to reclaim one's soul and to really have that awareness of what we have to go through and when we have to make those hard decisions, not because we want to be the bad person in our world. It is to understand that sometimes there is a bigger purpose to this all, and we just might not understand it just yet. So, with no last minutes to waste, let's bring in Rosie to Rosemary. We are welcoming you in.
Good morning, and thank you for that warm welcome. And let me just start by saying what an honor it is to be joining everybody today, and what an amazing lineup of speakers. And it's just such an honor to hold that space amongst just so many other beautiful souls here today. So, yes, as Shanice had mentioned, I am Rosemary. I'm an intuitive reader and healer, I'm an embodiment coach. I'm here to show you the way from your pain body into your pleasure body. Now, I'll explain that a little bit here. I'm going to really try really hard to not tell 10 stories that round up into one story, coming back to the main point, because that's my usual way of telling. But the thing about my work is that it is so much mirrored back and reflected in my own personal journey and the wisdom that I have gathered and the lessons and the challenges that I have met along the way, and how it's all come together into this really nice little package, showing me exactly what the pain body represents, how important the body is in that journey, and how our soul uses our body as a vessel of communication through that journey, and how to tap in and how to listen so we can follow its guidance. When the world outside of us is in absolute chaos, when the world outside of us makes absolutely no sense, we have this safe haven that we could tap into, allow it to be this guiding light, and lead us into the sanctuary of our pleasure body. And so it was very many moons ago that your lovely host actually had ushered these words to me, and they really had such a huge impact in my journey, and really showed me the power of just making a little change, just making a little shift of how it could completely change the vibration, how it could completely change the frequency, your reality of something. And these words impact me still. And I now share these words with the women who I work with, who the clients who come into my space. It has become a staple in the work that I do. And these words that were ushered to me came at a time in my life when I thought I was at a good point. I really thought I had life together. I did everything by the book. I did everything that I was supposed to do. I was your definition of a good girl. I lived life by the book. I went to nursing school. I got my diploma. I moved to small town Saskatchewan, met a nice farm boy, got hitched, had a couple kids, built a house, had a great job, and couldn't figure out why I was so damn unhappy. I couldn't understand why there was this huge void within myself, and every day that passed, every moment that passed, every moment, every situation where I was denying the call of my soul, where I was denying the voice of my body, made that void bigger and bigger. It filled me with resentment. It filled me with anger. It had me pouring from a cup that was so incredibly bone dry, and I had no idea how to fill it back up. I had no idea how to fill it back up. But I had this illusion in my mind that it must be something wrong with me. It must be something wrong with me because I was doing it right. I was doing it right. I was discovering myself. I was diving into the world of energetics, into spirituality. I was tapping into my divine feminine. I was working through the different layers of healing. I was finally finding my voice. And yet that void was still there. It was still there. And it didn't matter what I did, that void was still there. But I thought, something's got to be wrong here. I have to be missing something. Because I have a great husband. I have a happy home. My kids are healthy. My kids are happy. I have a good job. I'm now in this world where I'm discovering energy. I'm starting a business. It's feeding into me. Maybe one day I could actually leave nursing and move into this full time because it's giving me something that I never experienced before. And it's helping me define myself. It's helping me to connect back to my body. Yet there was this void that for the life of me, I cannot figure out why it was still there, even though I was doing the work. And this is when those words were ushered to me. At a point in time in my life when everything I had built, everything I had worked for, came tumbling down. The biggest tower moment that you could imagine, where every single thing in my life felt like it was being ripped apart from me. I no longer knew who I was. I had done so much work trying to find who I was. All of a sudden, I was at a point when I had no idea who I was anymore. I didn't know what the road ahead of me was going to look like. I didn't know where I was going to go. I didn't know how I was going to get through it. I didn't know where I was going to find the strength to create this new life that I was now being called for. And the words that were ushered to me was, I know that you are scared, but I also know that you are sacred. And let me tell you, those words right there, just switching those few different letters totally changed the vibration, the frequency, the meaning, the depth of it. And I was like, yeah, I am scared. I am scared down to my very, very bones. But I also know that I am sacred. I know that I am a sacred being, that I am a divine being, that I am connected to the divine, that I am part of source, and then I am not doing this journey alone, but I am a co-creator in this journey. And even though life is falling apart and life is going to look nothing like it does now, and it's going to continue to change, it's going to continue to be a journey of unbecoming and becoming, even though I am scared and traversing that void where I can't see what's in front of me, that sacredness is what is going to lead me through it. That remembrance of who I am as a soulful being. That there is a greater plan for me, that there is a greater purpose, that life is not happening to me, but life is happening for me right now. That sacredness is what's going to lead me to the other side. And that sacredness was a call back home into the wild woman. That sacredness was a call back home into my body, into my wisdom, into my medicine. It was a call back home into my sanctuary, which is the full embodiment of that delicious feminine energy that I was tapping into before, but I never had the full realization of what it actually meant to embody it, to embrace it, to create room within it. And my life crumbling down, my life having to start over from complete scratch once again, was the feminine, was the divine working in me to create space for my desires. And this is what this journey has been, and let me tell you what this past year has been. It has been a reclaiming of myself, of transitioning from Rosie into Rosemary, from pain into a place of operation of pleasure. Now your pain body, this is a place of operation when we are operating from a place of deep disconnect from self, disconnect from source. It is a place of operation when we are thinking, feeling, responding, and perceiving life from a very disempowered state. We are in survival. We are just trying to make it through the day. We're trying to make it through life. And when we're in that state of being, it puts up this energetic block to receiving anything good, anything soul nourishing, anything that will feed this delicious, healing, beautiful, gentle energy into your body, into your life. You are shutting it off because you are in self-preservation. And when you're in that mode, you don't have room for anything else because you're simply working on autopilot. You're simply working from those deep subconscious programming, conditioning, and limiting beliefs that tell you this is what life is. This is all life is going to be. You are not worth anything better. You are not capable of anything better. This is your lot in life, so just deal with it. Versus your pleasure body, which is a place of deep connection, not only to yourself, but to the divine, to the cosmos, to God, to whatever you want to call it. Is that connection to something greater than yourself. It is operating from a place of deep empowerment, where you are situated, where you are rooted in self-love and self-worth, and knowing that you are sacred, that you are worth something, that your voice matters, that your medicine matters, that you bring value to wherever you go. Living from your pleasure body is having your body a vessel that divine love consciousness moves to, through, and from. It's a beautiful place to be. It's a powerful place to be. This is the full embodiment of your authenticity, where you no longer have to put on the masks. You no longer have to try and fit yourself into the tiny spaces where you know that you don't belong. You no longer dim your light. You no longer silence your voice, but you embrace the light and the shadow that is you, because every part of you is worthy. There's no such thing as the bad and good within you, because it is all good. It is all good. There are just some parts of us that need a little extra love, that need a little extra light shined on them, that need embracing, that need validation, that need to be seen, that need to be heard. This is the difference of living from your pain body and from your pleasure body. Your pain body, you're very constricted. You're closed off, just trying to survive, making another day. This is what life is. Deal with it. Your pleasure body, you are expansive. You are open to the flow of the universe, to the flow of the divine, to the flow of that beautiful feminine energy and that masculine divine energy that work in tandem to give you what you need when you're needing it through different phases of your life. You know that you, as you are right now, are worthy of everything that you desire. Because let me tell you, your desires are not given to you by accident. They are given to you by purpose, by design, because they are part of your soul's purpose. They are part of your soul's purpose. But when you are disconnected, when you can't hear what your body is saying, when you're not connected to yourself, when you're not connected to source, when you're not connected to your soul, when you're just living on autopilot, and all these beliefs and these thoughts and these feelings are telling you you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough, all these things about yourself, you can't connect to those desires. They become oblivious to you. They become so far from what is possible, so far out of reach that why even go there? Why live in a fantasy when this is your reality? This is the difference between the pain body and the pleasure body. And your body is this really magnificent thing. And this is what I have come to learn on the journey of transitioning from Rosie, who was so embedded in her pain body, who didn't have a voice, who lived life by the book, who did everything that she was supposed to, and still life didn't work out the way that she desired it to, who didn't have a voice if her life depended on it, who didn't know how to say yes to herself because she was so busy people pleasing and taking care of everybody else, making sure that everybody else was doing okay, that her needs were the very last thing to be addressed. So let me tell you, when I look back now from the journey that I have been on, and I remember the feeling of, man, I'm doing everything right. I'm working on myself, finding myself, I'm rediscovering myself. I have a good family, have a good life. Why is there this void? Well, now me looking back, I'm like, girl, how did you not see where there was a void? How did you not see it? How did you miss it? And I didn't see it because I was still so incredibly absorbed by the stories and the imprints that my body was holding on to that told me this is what life is. This is what I deserve. This is what I'm worthy of. This is what I'm capable of. And if life isn't working out, then it must be because there's something wrong with me, because everything is good. My life is good. I should be happy. I should be content. But I wasn't. I was so goddamn miserable. And when you are pouring from an empty cup, no matter how much of a people pleaser you are, no matter how much you love those around you, you are slowly draining their cup as well. Because what you're giving is just little bits and pieces of yourself till you're a shell of a human being. And those aren't the pieces that they want. They want the full you. They want the love in you. They want the exuberant, full of life, overflowing you. But we have this mentality. We have this belief, especially as women, that the more we give, that the more we sacrifice, the more of ourselves that we can give to those that we love. It just shows our love. It's like a badge of honor that we wear. The more we can give, the better of a person we are, the better of a woman we are. But we're doing our womanly role, our wifely, our motherly, our daughterly role. And you see, our body is such an amazing mechanism. It's so amazing. Our body is the bridge to our subconscious, which is where our internal programming, conditioning, and beliefs reside in. And those very things that make us us, that reside within our subconscious, whether we're aware of it or not, they all contribute into the way we think, the way we feel, the way we react and respond to life, and the way that we perceive life happening around us, which in turn creates our own personal reality. And so part of the pain body is learning how to traverse and move and understand those layers of the conditioning, the programming, and the beliefs that reside within our subconscious that are holding us back, that are stifling our soul's expression, that are telling us we're not good enough, that are feeding thoughts of anxiety, of fear, that move into feelings of feeling fearful and scared and not able to take that next step forward, or afraid to take that next step forward that we know we want to take, but we're too encompassed by these feelings of saying, oh my God, what's life going to look like if we make this move? What's going to happen to us? And then all of a sudden we start reacting from what those thoughts and feelings are producing within us. And then what we're doing is perpetuating the same reality over and over and over again, of one that keeps us locked, stagnant, stuck into that space that over time actually becomes comfortable because we're so conditioned to it. We're so used to it. It has a level of expectation because we know what to expect. We know not to expect anything good because that's not what life has offered us in the past. So at least we know what to expect when we're in this space. Because you see, our body, it absorbs every positive and negative experience we have ever experienced, not only in this life, but in lifetimes past, from our lineage, from our ancestry, from the collective energies as a whole. These are all things that get imprinted within our body, within our subconscious, within our DNA, within our cellular makeup, that contribute to the way we think, to what we believe, how we perceive ourselves, and how we perceive life working around us, and how we see life around us. This is the power of our body. It is like a living archive of the stories of the past, the present, and the future, all wrapped in one. And when we are living from a place of disempowerment, when we're not connected, we can't listen to what those stories are. And we let those pain stories create our reality. We allow them to influence how we think, how we feel, how we react, how we perceive life happening around us. And the thing about that is, if you have the power to change it. You have the power to change it. Because we can't think greater than what we feel. And so part of my journey, and we're going to get into how you start changing it, how you start living from that place of pleasure, how you start living from that place of a deep connection, so that you can really become the master creator of your reality, so that you can escape the confines of the pleasure of the pain body and the illusions and the challenges that never seem to go away, of having you digging those trenches, of never feeling like you can get a breath up, of always feeling like you're in survival, of feeling like you're always constricted. We'll talk about how you can move into the pleasure body. But part of this journey, especially this last year, is in my own personal journey, I got really, really good at navigating the pain and navigating of figuring out, okay, why I think the way I do, why I feel the way I do, why I believe the things that I do, why I act the way I do, why I get triggered the way I do. I got really, really good at figuring that out, at navigating the whys, at finding the root, so I can heal it, so I can change it, so I can call my power back, so I can start changing my story, so I could start changing my reality, so I could start feeding those around me and pouring into those around me from a cup that's overflowing rather than from a cup that is bone dry all the time. So I could start calling back the missing pieces to start filling up that void that was so heavy within me. It was about, so I've been separated for about 2.5 years now. And the first time I had ever said, so you need a little bit of context. So we're going to go slightly back here a little bit. So I've been separated for 2.5 years now. And let me tell you, good little Rosie, who was so embedded in her pain body, who never knew how to say yes to herself, when these words, I know you're scared, but I know you're sacred, when they were ushered to me when my world was absolutely falling apart. This was the first time she ever truly said yes to herself. And saying yes to herself meant ending a 12-year marriage. Saying yes to her, because this was a level of her pain body that she needed to escape from, that she needed to heal, that she needed to let go of, So this was the first time she had ever said yes to herself. And let me tell you, saying yes to yourself is so much easier said than done. Because when you say yes to yourself, there is guilt. There is an air of selfishness. There are these thoughts of, am I doing the right thing? Am I a good person? Am I the villain in this? The guilt of feeling like the one being responsible for inflicting so much pain, for breaking up the happy home that we had. But let me tell you right there, that thought right there, I had to stop myself because I had to say, Rosie, what makes you think it was a happy home? You've done so much work in your pain body. The illusion of this happy home has been broken because you know it's not a happy home. So why are you still thinking that you are breaking up a happy home? And I had to change that narrative. I had to change that form of thinking because I wasn't breaking up a happy home. I was giving us each, even if he couldn't see it at the time, I was giving us each the gift of breaking the contract that we had together so that we both had a fighting chance to actually create the life that we both desired, because we weren't able to give it to each other. We were incapable of giving it to each other, and that was slowly killing both of us. It was slowly draining the life force energy from both of us. And let me tell you, that is not a home that I ever wanted my children to grow up in. So even though in my mind, in my ego, in my pain body was telling me, oh, you're breaking up a home. You're breaking up your home. Your children are going to live in a broken home. What are you doing? It's like, no, you know what? The home is actually already broken. And we're putting a Band-Aid over it and calling it happy. And that's not something I want my children to experience, because you know what? They actually deserve to have two parents that are happy and healthy, rather than two parents who choose to stay together for the illusion of that happy home. It was the first time I said yes to myself. First time I ever said yes, and boy, oh boy, did it rock me. Did it rock me to my core. And this is where my journey, the catalyst of it, really began. Because like I said, I was so proficient at learning how to navigate my pain body that the whole year after our initial separation, it was a learning process of how to connect back to my body, of how to have a bodily experience where my senses were ignited. Because if I spent too much time in my head, if I spent too much time thinking, all of a sudden I would start to spiral, and I would start questioning, am I doing the right thing? Oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have the home that I built for the last 12 years, all of a sudden isn't mine. The whole life I had all of a sudden isn't mine. What am I going to do? So every time that happened, I had to stop myself, because those were thoughts coming from my pain body. That was the version of me who didn't think I was capable of creating a life that actually fed me, that was actually nourishable to me, that was pleasurable to me, that I could relax into, that I could enjoy. And whenever those thoughts came in, that was my number one indication to dig deeper into my rituals, to dig deeper into my body, to dance, to move, to nourish myself, to intentionally feed myself better thinking thoughts, better thinking feelings, and better feeling experiences. Even if throughout the day, the only pleasurable thing I can manage was having a few minutes of holding that hot cup of coffee in my hand and feeling the warmth of it, smelling the aroma, enticing all of my senses. If that was the only pleasure that I could bring myself that day, then okay, that was good enough. Tomorrow we'll try for a little bit more. But it was intentionally feeding my body pleasurable experiences that brought it into the present moment, because your body does not know the difference between the past, what is happening right now, and what is happening in the future. All your body knows is what is happening right now. So when you're in a spiral and when you're operating from your pain body and you're being triggered by past experiences, and all of a sudden the emotions and the thoughts and all the trauma that those experiences gave you, they come rushing back into your body. And your body believes that it is experiencing that thing all over again, even though it happened in the past. Because you're bringing in those feelings, because you're bringing in those emotions, your body is now reacting in a way as if it's happening all over again. And what happens? You shut down, you go into survival, you go into self-preservation. So by intentionally feeding your body better feeling experiences that bring you into the here and now, that anchor you into your body, that ground you into your body, that really ignite and turn on your senses, you are showing your body that it is safe to be in a pleasure state of being, that it is safe to be in a place of receiving, that it is safe to allow the good things into your life. You are showing, you are reconditioning, you are reprogramming your subconscious and your body to now accept the things that feel good to it. Because let me tell you, when you are so situated and used to living from your pain body, your body will reject the things that are good for you, the things that are meant for you, the places that you're meant to go, the people who are meant to feed into you, because they will feel unfamiliar. And if it feels unfamiliar, it feels unsafe, even though it's not. So by intentionally feeding your body these better feeling feelings, by grounding into yourself, by listening, by tapping in, by allowing your soul to finally have room to speak to you, you are creating this space for you now to receive what your soul actually desires, to step into that really powerful co-creator mode that you have always meant to be into, to really start removing those masks, those layers that have kept you small, that have kept you from loving yourself, from holding yourself in that worth, for allowing in those things that don't mirror back to you worth, love, sacredness. This is the power of transitioning over into your pleasure body. And this last year has been so incredibly massive of, like I said, probably 10 stories wrapped into one. Now we're coming back to the original one. But Rosie was so embedded into her pain body, and it was a transition of, yes, okay, now I know how to traverse the pain body. I'm really self-aware of it. I am familiar with it. I am used to being in the trenches. I am used to doing the hard work. I am so accustomed to doing the nitty-gritty of getting into the darkest, dirtiest aspects of myself and figuring out why they're there, figuring out why they're showing up, that this was now a year to learn how to actually be in my pleasure body, how to fully anchor myself in that energy of learning how to receive the things, the people, and the places that were here to nourish me, to add value into my life, who mirrored back to me the woman who I was becoming, this beautiful, feminine, voluptuous creatrix of a woman who knew her worth, who stood in her value, who no longer accepted less than what she deserved. Because let me tell you, she is a woman who is worthy of love. She is a woman who is worthy of being pursued. She is a woman who is worthy of abundance, who is worthy of pleasure, and who is worthy of the deepest form of nourishment that there possibly is. And so are each and every one of you. But when you're operating from your pain body, you can't see those things. It almost distorts the truth of you. It distorts the authenticity of you, because at your most authentic nature, at your deepest core of who you are, is this soulful being who has the soulful right, the soulful birthright to live a life that is abundant, to live a life that is nourishing, to live a life that is so overflowing. It doesn't mean that you don't have challenges. It doesn't mean that everything is sunshine and daisies, but you're operating from a place of empowerment, from a place of connection, that it allows you to navigate through those trenches. It allows you to navigate through those lulls, through those topsy-turvy moments where you don't know where life is bringing you, you don't know where you're going, because you know that as long as you tune into your body, as long as you ground yourself back into your body, and you open yourself up as a vessel to listen to the communication of your soul, to the guidance of your soul, that you will always be in alignment, and it is always going to guide you through it, and it is going to get you to the other side. Even if you can't see the other side, you know it's going to get you there. And you have full permission to follow it. And that is the difference between living from your pain body and pleasure body, because your pain body will tell you don't listen to it. That's not reality. That's fantasy. That's woo-woo. That's like, come back into the real world. You're meant to stay here. And your pleasure body goes, no, I'm actually more than that. I'm a soulful being having a human experience, but because I'm a soulful being, that means I'm connected to source. That means I'm connected to the divine. That means I'm connected to the cosmos. That means I'm connected to everything. And I am actually the master creator of my life. I'm this co-creator with spirit. And I have the power to create the life that I desire, because my desires are mine. My desires are sacred. My desires are part of my soul's purpose. But let me tell you something. When you are so used to expecting that shoe to drop, when your body is so used to being let down, it is really, really hard to say yes. It's really hard to say yes. So this year for me of transitioning and leaving behind the visage of Rosie, who is so embedded in her pain body, moving into the full embodiment of what it meant for Rosemary to live this life of full authenticity in her wisdom and in her medicine, opening herself up as a vessel to receive all that she desires. I've had to learn how to balance the scales. I've had to learn how to balance the scales, because this is another little tool that I've discovered that I now share with clients that helps you to distinguish, am I living from my pain body or am I living from my pleasure body? And so if you are living from your pleasure body, your balanced scale is going to be right here. And this is where you stand in your worth. This is where you stand in your value, your self-love, your morals, your values. This is who you are in your most authentic form. And you are her or you are him. And this is where you are in your balanced state. This is where you are in alignment. So then when your pain body, when your pleasure body is being challenged, because you will be challenged to see if you're going to revert to the old way, if you're going to be anchored into the new way of living and actually take action into the life that you claim to want, if you're actually going to take the action and stand in that essence of it. So if your balanced scale is here and everything else, every person, every experience, every situation is on the other hand, and if that person or that thing comes along and you're right here and it's down here, that, my friend, is something that's out of alignment. That, my friend, is something that's going to bring you into your pain body. Because if this thing right here ever asks you to lower yourself, to sacrifice yourself, to diminish parts of yourself, to hide parts of yourself, makes you question your self-worth, adds chaos when there should be peace, adds in fear and anxiety when there should be clarity and wholeness, that is a no. This is a no. And you need to learn to stand in that boundary, because boundaries are one of the biggest forms of self-love that you can give yourself. That's another lesson I had to learn. How to create boundaries and how to stand in them, because that was part of living for my pleasure body. And this is the scale that helped me to do so. So if something ever comes along and asks me to lower myself to meet it where it's at, it's a no. It's a no. It's not a maybe. It's a no. And maybe it's not a forever no, but it's a no right now until this could rise up to meet me to where I am at, to reflect back to me my balanced state of being, because then it's going to be an equal give and take. Or maybe it's up here. And this is also a yes. Why? There's an unbalance here. But when this is up here, this is going to create the space for me. This is going to create a really loving and gentle and healing space for me to grow and expand so that I can raise myself. I'm not lowering myself, I'm raising myself. So this is the scale that I use and that I now share with other people to bring yourself into your balanced state of being, where you are living from your pleasure body, where you are rooted in empowerment, where you are acting from a place of empowerment. You're making choices based on empowerment. And you could say, if this is my balanced state of being, if anything comes along that asks me to ever lower myself, it is a no. That's going to put me right back into my pain body. Versus if it meets me where I am, beautiful, wonderful, that this is a yes for me. Whoever comes up here, thank you for creating the space for allowing me to grow and to expand to meet you to where you are. That's beautiful as well. And let me tell you, it is a trip. It is an absolute trip when you actually are fully anchored into your beautiful, beautiful receiving pleasure body, and all of a sudden those things that you desire, those things that you crave, you start experiencing them in your wholeness, because you've intentionally started conditioning, reprogramming your body to receive by intentionally feeding it better feeling thoughts, better feeling feelings, better feeling experiences. That now your body is an open vessel to allow those things outside of you to come in. And boy, is that ever a heart expansion, a fullness that is undeniable. That when I talk about soul nourishment, that is soul nourishment. That chef's kiss, soul nourishment right there. So this is what I do. This is what I do. I help you to discover those illusions that are sitting in your pain body, of where you're operating from your pain body, and guide you to the root so that you can heal it at its core, so that you can take back your power and you can begin what it actually means and learn what it actually means to operate from your pleasure body by intentionally connecting to your body each and every day, grounding into its experiences, turning on its senses so that you can hear where it's guiding you, what it's speaking to you, without the filter of your pain body distorting its truth, distorting its voice. And that's what I do. This is where this journey has brought me. It is ever evolving. I don't always get it right. I am perfectly imperfect, but let me tell you, I am here for the ride. Because even though I may be scared, I know for certain that I am sacred, and you are sacred too, my friend. You are so incredibly sacred. And it is your birthright. Let me tell you, it is your birthright to live a full life in your most authentic nature, because that is the highest vibration at which you can rise to. And that is when you are sitting in that vibration of authenticity, when you are standing in your worth at that balanced scale of who you are at your core. That is when you begin to be the attractor, and you step out of that pain body where you were the chaser, where you were chasing at all these different things to try and fill those inner voids, and you start attracting the things into your life that bring you joy, that are gentle to your being, that maybe challenge you, but they challenge you to rise, they challenge you to grow, they challenge you to expand, and in the most beautiful, beautiful ways. Life is such a wild ride. And we could either strap in and let it bring us to where we need to go, or we can resist it and stay trapped and stay small and stay lost and stay disconnected and stay in that survival mode where we are just trying to make it another day.
what it is to see a glow on you now, to reclaim that light after so much kind of debris and shale that we feel after an avalanche of our world coming and crashing down. To just rediscover sometimes ourselves through those tragedies and those impacts is just the reason why we are so honored that this work does work. And can you just touch a little bit more on, like, in that exact moment of reclaim, like you already talked about, but just like what really brought you that understanding that that needed to happen, that needed.
Mm-hmm. So I had gotten really good at traversing my pain body. When I ended my marriage, it was the first time that I had ever said yes to myself. But in that process, in that journey, I didn't realize I had this illusion that I was living through my pleasure body, and I had little glimpses of her. I had moments where, it felt so good. I felt fully embodied, that life was really good, but it quickly slipped away because it was never fully anchored within me. And I couldn't understand for the life of me of why I was still digging in these trenches, of why the healing always felt so intense, of why these harsh lessons just kept on coming, of why I was perpetuating the same cycles in my life that mirrored back to me that I wasn't worthy, that I wasn't good enough. I was attracting men into my life that were emotionally unavailable. And it was this point in time when I was literally at my wits' end. I was on my knees talking in spirits, thinking, like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I'm doing the work, I'm living in my pleasure body. What more can I do until I'm worthy of receiving? And that's when I heard spirits say, what makes you think you're unworthy? What makes you think that you are unworthy now? Because what you are choosing, you are allowing. And that right there told me that my scales were wildly out of bounds, that I was in the illusion that I was holding it right here, but really every time something came along that offered that the slightest form of nourishment, the slightest glimpse of that good life, I was like, okay, I want it. I want it so desperately. So I lowered myself to meet it where it was at. And that took me out of my pleasure body, that put me in my pain body. And it kept creating the same cycles. And so this is why we are the master creators of our lives. Because I was still choosing to allow these things that took me out of my pleasure body, put me into my pain body, to have access to me. So once I started keeping my scale here and started saying no and standing in that no and sitting with that no, sitting in the healing energy of that no, all of a sudden spirit said, okay, we're going to bring this in here. Does this reflect back to you, love? No? Okay, it's a no then. Yes? Enjoy your blessing.
Beyond beautiful. Because I think so much of us, we hate the ugly stage of that healing, journeying, processing, flailing like floundering fish or chickens without our heads on moments. And I think that layer, and I've been there, Brody and I have been, in those discussions and those journeys, and we've seen that holding space for you through the retreats and the programs and stuff that we've worked on. And then all of a sudden, when that click and that gratitude for that impact and change, to really understand, holy shit, I was not even needing that illusion and that lie, because that's what I was maybe trying to fix and change for my parents or my community or my school or my friends or my siblings. And it had nothing to do with me. And that's where it's just like that awareness that we're just so much like sponges to just like take the short end of the stick, being like, oh, hey, Rosie, because nobody wants to say Rosemary. Nobody wants to say, I am sad, I am hurt, versus it being like, I'm okay. I'm fine. And I think that transition and that impact of like why we're really showing people that transition of being like, no means no. Rosemary means Rosemary, not Rosie, not Mary, not anything in between. It is what is stated as is and will be. And that's what we hold.
Absolutely. Yes.
I think it's incredible to see how you're a perfect example of that reclaimed energy going from moving through your story. And I think there's this adage with people that are helping people through that healing journey. You know, we're very similar, right in the same trenches with you. We're just sometimes a couple steps ahead. And then what the people do, or maybe even just one step ahead, what I was working on a week ago, that's what I can now help you with. And we're all just growing together in that sense. And you taking that torch and just from the beginning being like, I can be an inspiration, I can be a light for that version of me I was a week ago, a year ago, a decade ago type of thing, that way is the honest truth of the really authentic work that really transforms people's lives, and you becoming that inspiration for others is just so enjoyable to watch. And I know that so many people have witnessed that and then came into your energy and grown and became a better person and are living a better life because of that, Rosemary. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I just had one final question from somebody stating, I'm struggling so hard understanding that this is going to end our relationship. And how did you tell them that this was over?
Well, that's a whole story in itself. But what it comes down to is you have two different life paths in front of you. You could either stay where you are and you can continue down the path that you are, and you can hope and pray that it gets better. And maybe it will. Maybe it will. Or you can choose to see things as they truly are. You can ask yourself if this is actually what you want, or if you want the illusion of what you perceived this connection to be. So is this a true connection, or is this a connection that you wish was something different? And you have two paths in front of you. You can either choose to stay on the one you are, or you can choose the one that actually reflects the truth. And sometimes the truth is really hard. Lots of times, all the time, the truth is really, really hard. But bottom line, you could either choose to live in the illusion of what can be, but what actually isn't, or you can choose to accept things as they actually are and say, okay, is this serving me, or is this not serving me? Is this draining the life force from us, or is this feeding life force energy into us? You have two choices: either hope and pray that what you want will someday come to fruition, or you look at things as they truly are and you say, do I want to continue this, or do I not want to continue this? And it's really, there's no in between for that. I feel it's either very black and white. It's one and the other. Do I choose to stay in the illusion of what this can be, or do I choose to accept the truth of what it is here and now?
Oh, I think they will love that. So thank you again, with the biggest honor. And if you guys are searching for that really fruitful, deeper dive into that connection about your pain bodies and your journeys, I have seen Rosemary in work and practice, and so many testimonies coming back from lovely souls saying, this is exactly what I needed, and I'm so glad that I didn't have it sugar coated on my journey, because I seen how she could make it through, and it just made me believe that there is a possibility for this next discovery of this phase of life. So thank you for the honor again, Rosemary. Have a beautiful day, and let's reclaim up.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks again.